Hey everybody, today I'm starting the first of a two-part series talking about all the games that I'm still excited for yet to come out in 2021. So if you are a regular consumer of board game media, you're probably aware that towards the end of the year all the new titles start to come out, and that's because two of the biggest conventions are towards the end of the year. So you've got Gen Con and Essen coming up, and rather than doing a specific list for Gen Con or Essen, I thought I'd just do a general overview about games that could come out at either. But to be honest, most of my anticipated games do lean towards Essen because they do tend to release more Euro style games there, which is normally my cup of tea. And there were a couple of games that I wanted to mention that I won't be talking about in detail, but because I've talked about them in a bit of detail before on other videos, or I've actually already got them but yet to play them, games such as Juicy Fruits, games such as The Great Plains. I've got these in my collection and still have yet to play them, but I know a lot of people are still really waiting to play them and they are due out soon, so just wanted to mention those as well. So let's get started at the first main game here. So the first one I want to talk about is this year's Alexander Pfister release. This is Boon Lake. So if you're not familiar with Alexander Pfister, he's known for making pretty involved Euro-style games and some of the biggest hits of the most modern era. So games such as Maracaibo, Mombasa, Great Western Trail, more recently Cloud Age. He has a certain type of game that he makes, and to be honest, I know a lot of people like him, and I am one of those people. So always interesting to see what he puts out. He makes very mechanical games, but something about his games are always fun. They're always very satisfying as you have an element of engine building to them, and also they sometimes have a thread of story throughout his games as well. So always excited to see what he puts out. This one has a different type of theme to his normal games, where you are settling in a new place, you're trying to build up the infrastructure of this new region, trying to sort out the economy, sorting out food, etc., production. And all those things tick a lot of boxes for me. And again, that pedigree of being an Alexander Pfister game is a surefire for me to at least try this one. So this is a certain buy for me. Early visuals of this game, I think it looks nice. It's nice and bright and vibrant. I know there's a rulebook out of this one already, but I've not read the rulebook because, to be honest, I don't like reading rulebooks before the game comes out. But certain shoe-in for me to buy this one, that is Boon Lake. The next one is, I suppose, a bit of a wild card on this list. This is Brazil Imperial. So Brazil Imperial by Zé Mendes, who I don't know a lot about. And this one is being advertised or touted as being a Euro X game. So if you're familiar with 4X games, these are normally more American-style games where you're expanding, you're exploiting your resources, you're exterminating all the different players, etc. This one has, again, that Euro backbone, so it's more about the resources and stuff like that and how you're going to prioritise things and being efficient, which is right up my alley. And to be honest, I still am yet to... I have a lot of hope that there's going to be a really good Euro 4X game out there. After the relative disappointment of Dark Ages, I still feel like there's some ground to be made there, and I think that there's a game out there for me, whether that's out yet already or yet to come out, and I think Brazil could be that game. It looks beautiful to look at. It has that cool player boards where you're pulling stuff off and putting them onto the board, getting upgrades and upgrades. Honestly, this looks like it's got potential to go one way or the other. It's either going to be great, or I'm building it up too much in my head to inevitably make it fall. But everything is looking promising at the moment, and again, it's got that high potential to go one way or the other. So extremely excited to try Brazil, and I think this is going to be a good one. Next up, I have Carnegie. So Carnegie, a game I've got a bit more trust in, a bit more faith that this is going to be more up my alley. So this is going to be a Quined Games release. Actually, this is actually an older Kickstarter project that's about to be fulfilled. This is also designed by Javier Jorge, who is actually known for designing Trois, which is one of my favourite games ever. So this has a more economic vibe and a more kind of industrial style vibe, which, to be honest, at the moment, I'm really digging. So I'm really getting into Martin Wallace style games. Any game where you've got to kind of manage money or gain money, I'm enjoying. So this could be a good aligning of the planets, a great designer, great publisher, a great theme. at the right time for me. So I think this has got a lot of potential to maybe reach my top 10 of the year. I know there's already some kind of online platforms that are supporting Carnegie already, which you can try. I've not tried it yet because it's not my thing, but I know the initial feedback is positive, and I think this is going to be great. So it's a game where you're building up an industry, your own company, managing your staff, etc. And you know, that is just so appealing to me. So highly excited to finally try Carnegie. The next game is something a bit different. This is Caesar by Paolo Mori. So this is actually the second in, I suppose you could call it the almost sister game or a sequel to Blitzkrieg, which is a really interesting two-player only game. And this is another two-player game where you are drawing tokens from a bag and placing them onto the board. So these two games have a lot of shared DNA. However, the actual idea is slightly different, whereas Blitzkrieg was more of a tug-of-war style game. This one looks a bit more area control style, style vibe, where you're placing these tokens and aligning them either to kind of the numbers to fill on one border or the other border, and then you're trying to get the overall region. So I like the idea of this one. I like the theme a bit more than Blitzkrieg because I like the kind of Roman Empire style theme. And who knows? I think Paolo Mori is doing a great job of carving out a bit of a niche for himself to make these pretty involved, pretty tactical, but yet strategic games that can get done comfortably in 20 minutes with very streamlined rules. The next game is Cape May. So Cape May, a design by Eric Mosso, who I believe is a first-time designer, and published by Thunderworks. So this one is a beautiful looking game. I believe this one has Michael Menzel artwork. The cover is stunning. So this one, I believe you're building this little seaside resort. You're placing these buildings down. You're potentially paying more, I think, for prime locations on the seafront. Being wary that elements can play a bit of a part in this one and corrode or kind of depreciate the value of your buildings if you don't pay for upkeep, etc. And I think this one has some kind of throwback mechanisms as well, almost like a roll and move style thing where you want to traverse the board and passing certain locations and things on one-way systems. I think this one sounds appealing. I think maybe a big part of that is the visuals because it is so gorgeous to look at, and who knows, maybe the gameplay doesn't quite hold up to that standard. But at the moment, it's looking promising. I have got this one on pre-order, so obviously I will try it. But, this one could be a bit of a sleeper. So that is Cape May. The next game is a game with very limited information about it. This is Corrosion. So first off, great title. Love the name of this one. This one is by Stefan Bauer and being published by Capstone again and Deep Print, I believe. So this one is being advertised as an engine building game. So engine building games are really my go-to. Almost every one of my favourite games has some degree of engine building in this one, in them. However, Corrosion sounds interesting and a bit different because I believe the more you run your engines in this game, your gears and certain parts of that engine are being corroded, meaning that they're going to kind of end up useless and you're going to have to replace them with new parts to keep the system flowing and keep it moving. So I love that idea of being a dynamic engine where you constantly got to kind of fill the gaps and plug in different things and keep things rolling. Just a cool idea. I don't know if that's going to play as big as a part of as I think it's going to, but again, another Capstone game, so always got faith in them as a publisher. I don't think I've ever had a dud game by them, actually. So this one looking promising, good cover, great name, very catchy, and just that core idea of either increasing your engine or running your engine and potentially suffering the fallout of exploiting it too much just sounds interesting to me. So that is Corrosion. The next game is Darwin's Journey. So Darwin's Journey, being published by Thundergriff by, I think, one of the best designers of all time, Simone Luciani, this time with Mangoni. I forget Mangoni's first name. This one is, of course, based on Charles Darwin's tour of the Galapagos Islands. So love the idea and the theme of this one, as you are, I think you're going around on your little boat, the Bugle, and I believe you've got some kind of point-to-point movement systems here as you're trying to discover all these new species and research them. So I love that idea, and the idea of a cool theme merged with the absolute the masterminds of these designers is the recipe for a great game. So probably one of my most strongly anticipated games of the year in general. Another Kickstarter project that is going to be fulfilled at one of these conventions, so I believe Essen. So yeah, again, looking like it has all the ingredients to be a shoe-in to be a mainstay of my collection for many years. I believe this is very variable, loads of things to try, and yeah, it just looks fascinating. So that is Darwin's Journey. The next game is Free Ride by Friedemann Friese. So Friedemann Friese, a designer who I think always thinks outside the box. As soon as he comes out with a new game, whether it's for me or not, I'm at least going to check it out because he's such an innovative thinker. So this is going to be his take on a train-style game. As you are, I suppose, building up a network. You can use your own network for free, but I think you can use other people's network by paying them. These are all kind of tropes that you'd expect to see in a train game. But that one wildcard element of being a Friedemann Friese game just really excites me. So I'm excited to see what he does to put his stamp on a train game. I think the cover looks very inviting. It looks like a bit of a throwback again. It looks quite nostalgic. And I think it has a certain classy appeal to it. So hopefully this is going to be relatively streamlined, but it has that extra something to make it a Friedemann Friese game. And I'm excited to see what that extra something is. So that is Free Ride. The next game is Golem, or Golem. This is going to be a Carnegie Creations design, and Carnegie Creations I think makes some amazing games. This one is by Brasini, Gili, and again Luciani. Three of my absolute favourite designers. All these Italian designers are just incredible. And this one is kind of has some shared DNA with one of my favourite games of all time, Grand Austria Hotel. Whereas in Grand Austria Hotel, you'd roll a big bunch of dice and then you'd allocate them on different action spaces depending on the pit value. This one, you're doing a similar thing, but with marbles. And all these marbles have different colours on them. You're putting them down this chute and that puts them all in different columns. And then you're selecting the action you want to take based on the colours and the amount of marbles in that column. So I love that action selection system. I think there's, I'm more than happy to have another game that uses something similar. So I don't think it's going to be too similar to Grand Austria Hotel, but it has some familiarity there. And on top of all that, it's got a real cool looking board. It has a real kind of almost Gothic-y style vibe. And you have these golem tokens, which are going to kind of run rampant, and you're going to have to keep your little apprentices keeping up with them to stop them getting out of control. I think there's lots of things you can do here. I think a relatively involved games. It looks like it's going to be a bit heavier than Grand Austria Hotel, but I'm more than willing for that, ready to bring it on and to get it to the table. Because a bit like Darwin's Journey, this is another game that I've really been excited for a long time. It's been I know it's been burning in the background for quite some time now, and the idea that it's nearly ready to get to the table is so exciting for me, because again, the designers, the publisher, the theme of the game, and just it's going to be good. So that is Golem. And the final game I want to talk about is probably not a good one to end on actually, because I don't know too much about this one at all. But this is Hanamakoji Geishas Road. So this is going to be by Jerry Chang and published by Emperor S4, who of course published the original Hanamakoji game, which I think is one of the best two-player games of all time. So the original Hanamakoji was an extremely elegant hand management style game, a kind of I split you choose style game. You're trying to gain the favour of these geishas in a tug-of-war style manner. This one, I don't think the mechanisms have been released yet. I don't know what this game is going to entail. But if it stays within that branding of Hanamakoji of being extremely stripped back, very delicately balanced, then if they can keep that vibe up and keep that series as strong as the original, then this could be amazing. So really excited to see what it's going to be. To be honest, initially I thought this was going to be an expansion, but I've since found out that that is not the case, and it would be a real shame if this tarnishes the name of Hanamakoji. But of course, if it's going to be as good as the original Hanamakoji, then that is going to be fascinating. So that's just 10 games I'm really excited to play and am anticipating. So if there's anything on here that's caught your attention and you want to leave a comment, please do so. I'll be sure to get back to you. And I think most of these are going to come out towards Essen time rather than Gen Con. But who cares? It's all good. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, please hit like and subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos too. And for everyone else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye.